Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tokyo Ghoul RIZE chapter 157. We've been very excited for this chapter, for this moment, if you will. We've asked so many questions already surrounding Kaneki. What's he going to be like? How's he going to react to Toka and Matsuki? Is he going to be mentally and physically changed? All of these questions, we have no answers to them. But today, this chapter, we are slowly going towards the answers that we've been looking for. We are finally getting a chapter that is solely dedicated to Kaneki. Now, first and foremost, I want to say, this chapter was phenomenal, right? Regardless of the text, because there wasn't much. There really wasn't. It was just Kaneki talking to himself, asking where Toka and everyone else was, freaking out, thinking that he was dead, and then him panicking and running out of this building that he's in. That's it, really. Regardless, this chapter holds a lot of impact, a lot of emotion, a lot of symbolism. I know people hate the word symbolism, especially for Tokyo Ghoul RIZE, but regardless, symbolic as hell, this chapter. Everything. The building he's in, the shrine gates, he's got the water, and then he's got a very particular person right at the end of these shrine gates. The first thing I want to talk about is where Kaneki is, because people are going to ask the question, what the fuck, where is he? He's an Ian Dragon? This is in his head. This is all mentally. This is all built and constructed off Kaneki's personalities. However, you guys have seen this place before. That's right, you have seen this place. Not the building itself, but actually the water, the surface that he's on, because there is nothing else in this chapter other than a building, shrine gates, and water, open water. You're probably wondering, the fuck? I haven't seen this water before. Where's this water come from? Two different situations. One's more identical, but the first one I will mention as well. The first situation was when Kaneki first turned into a girl. He joined with RIZE, right? That situation happened underwater, whether it was water or blood or whatever, but regardless, it happened kind of under a liquid surface. Because Kaneki felt like he was drowning, but he was actually merging with RIZE's personality, her emotions, everything in between. It was the Kakaho getting implanted inside of him, and them connecting as one. That's the first time it happened, right? Here's the second one. You guys remember the Kaneki Jason situation, where Kaneki had to evolve to become white-haired Kaneki? This is almost identical. This placing is almost identical. If you've watched the first season, you still know what I'm talking about, because they depict it very well in the first season, and this chapter really reminded me of how the first season of Tokyo Ghoul depicted those scenes, right? In that Jason situation, Kaneki is falling down, right? He's falling from the surface, but then there's another Kaneki falling upwards to the middle, if that makes sense. Where the water meets, right? Right in the middle, the top of the water, you have a Kaneki coming up from the bottom of the water, and then you have Kaneki falling to the surface of the water, and then they meet in the middle, right where the surface is, and they clash together, and they create white-haired Kaneki. This reminds me almost identically of that situation. And the reason why I mention that situation is a very particular character that he meets at the end of these shrine gates, known as RIZE. That is right, RIZE has finally returned. It's been a while since we've seen her. We don't know where she is physically in the real world. I think the last time we saw her was in a capsule with Dr. KANEKI, but for some reason I still think that's a clone. Even though it did seem Furuta was heavily connected to that RIZE, I don't know, I felt like it was a clone. I just didn't see how RIZE got recaptured by Dr. KANEKI again under the care of Renji. I thought that was a little bit weird. Regardless, we haven't seen her for a very long time, and now she pops up in Kaneki's mentality. You want to know the funny thing about RIZE, about Kaneki and RIZE's journey, I should say, is that RIZE's been there since the beginning. Since Kaneki turned into a ghoul, she has always been there, and we've seen it in multiple different ways, whereas Kaneki's having visions of her, or even the fact that he changes personality so easily is all kind of evidence of RIZE. But the one thing that Kaneki has done throughout the entirety of the story, which has never really been told to us, but it's kind of depicted in a lot of different variations, is the fact that Kaneki has been keeping RIZE at bay, the personality of RIZE, right? Because RIZE's personality was that she was very manipulative, she was ruthless, she was a killer, she was a murderer, keyword murderer, and she was just ultimately a savage. She did not care. This was a personality, this was a trait that Kaneki didn't want to find. He did not want to turn into RIZE. He wanted to avoid that option entirely. This chapter, in my opinion, reintroduces that idea of Kaneki finally merging with RIZE for the final time. The final piece that Kaneki has been missing since day one is here, has been locked away. There's a couple of different reasons why I also think this, not just because of the scenery and where we are, but more so the shrines that he actually runs through. Realistically, you wouldn't think there's much to do with those shrine gates, but there is. At least I googled it. When you reach the ending of a shrine gate, right, when you walk through all of them, the main consensus is that you connect with a god. keyword connect. So Kaneki runs through these shrine gates, and the person he meets at the end is RIZE. And it's the end of the line. There's nothing else after it. RIZE is the final thing there. She is almost the depiction of a god at this point, meaning that she could also be the savior for Kaneki right now to leave this place that he's currently stuck in, because he can't leave. He doesn't know where to go. Even though this is all inside of his head, he can't leave. It's a nightmare. It's torture. But RIZE is there. And I believe RIZE is the only option for Kaneki to leave this place, for Kaneki to finally accept her, right? There's also another situation where he falls underneath the water surface and he looks down and he sees a bunch of people killed, like drowning underneath the water. There's a couple of different ways you can kind of look at that image. Trust me, you'll know what I'm talking about because it's a big panel and it's really well done. But a lot of those characters actually look like Kaneki himself. So I'm thinking maybe that's more so the depiction of Dragon creating DNA clones of Kaneki. If you don't remember, Dragon was creating like these white, perfectly created clones of Kaneki, which was super weird. I don't know how that was happening. They still haven't explained it, but that could be like kind of like a metaphor for it. But it could also actually symbolize his personalities. You know, the personas in his head have finally been stripped away, if that makes sense. And because if you haven't noticed already, there's no other personalities around him. He's kind of somewhat whole at the moment, if you will, but not whole in the right way, because those people that were drowning, whether they're just normal human beings or a metaphor for Dragon creating clones of Kaneki or Kaneki's personalities, all those different options, you could say that those original personalities have been stripped away. Everything that's made Kaneki up to this point has been stripped away because he's kind of finalized. There's nowhere really else he can go regarding his mentality except for RIZE, except for accepting her, because you can say that he's created all of these personalities to avoid turning into RIZE, to avoid turning into this ruthless killer. RIZE says some very peculiar words to Kaneki when he meets her. She calls him a murderer. The funny thing, Kaneki's never really been a murderer. He's never really been a bad guy. He's always tried his best to do right by the world, by his group, by his friends, his family, whatever it be. But he's never been ruthless. He's never been savage. He's never been heartless. And that's what he's trying to avoid. That's what he doesn't want. But ultimately, that's what he actually needs. The reason why he's in this situation is because he wasn't ruthless, because he wasn't savage, because he wasn't completely finished in terms of developing. RIZE's that final piece. RIZE reconnecting to Kaneki right now as he walks through these shrine gates which allow him to connect with the god, strip away everything that he used to know, and connect with the god at the end of it. Ultimately is RIZE sitting on a pillow right at the end. I think it's about time that Kaneki reevaluates his options because he doesn't have many left. So that's basically the whole chapter. Very well done. I'm honestly impressed. Even though there was little to no dialogue whatsoever, I am very impressed with this chapter. The artwork was through the roof. It's phenomenal. For the most part, I'm excited to see how Kaneki handles this situation. I feel like he realizes the only way he's going to get out of this place, the only way he can pursue his goal, the only way he can live for the future, for Toka, for his child, for his organization, for Hide, is if he reconnects with RIZE and becomes whole, becomes complete. Ultimately, this should change him for the final time. This should be it. This was something I was talking about since forever ago. You know, the final change. Something that he will most likely not turn away from. Something that he will not come back from. This doesn't necessarily have to be a extremely bad thing if it's going to keep him alive. At the cost of human lives, at the cost of the CCG lives, to keep himself alive, to allow him to go back to Toka and his group and his child, you best believe he's going to take it. You best believe he's about to evolve and change into something we haven't seen before, but something that's always been there since the beginning. The GHOUL that he has always meant to be. The GHOUL that RIZE has always meant to be. I'm very excited, and I hope you guys are too. So before I end the video real quick, I just want to jump back onto that spiral of people that Kaneki is looking at underneath the water. I mentioned a couple of different variables, but going back and looking at it, it actually could be an abundance of different people mixed with his own personalities, in saying that this is meant to scare him, you know, show him the utter destruction if he keeps going along this path, showing how much havoc he has truly caused in the world. Because if you notice, when he looks down, he's completely freaked out about it, and when he comes back up to the surface, he's like, what the fuck? What did I just witness? What are all those people doing down there? They're drowning, they're dying. Because realistically, he doesn't really know what's going on. He doesn't know that he's just killed a bunch of human beings. He doesn't realize that he's potentially hurt and injured a lot of people he knows. So this imagery that we're seeing with all these bodies underwater, more of a shock value that potentially RIZE could use as kind of like a wagering point, in saying that the people you just seen underwater are all the people you killed, all the people that you're going to kill, and the fact that you're destroying this city of Tokyo right now and could potentially easily kill your friends and loved ones and your child. So if you don't want that, we're gonna have to merge together. Buddy old pal, let's rule the world together. So I thought I'd just add that just to end it off. But with that being said, let me know what you guys thought of the chapter. You excited for next week? Because fucking oath I am. That's for sure. I'm very excited. We're starting to get stuff rolling now. With that being said, I'm actually going to end the video off here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.